Hello, Dave. Can you hear me? Because I'm kind of sitting back from the mic, and so just want to make sure you can hear me. I'm glad you're here tonight, Dave. Thank you for coming in and doing this, and because I didn't let you and Nellie even know it was happening. So thank y'all for being here. Or you. I hope Nellie's doing okay. I haven't had a chance to talk to her. Okay, good deal. I'm having to work off of two different browsers because on this account, I use it from my Firefox browser, and my main account I use from Chrome. So it's kind of confusing, very confusing. Good deal, good deal. And plus, this is so slow. Like it's really slow tonight. We're going to be getting some very, very bad weather tomorrow. So but yeah, I was just wanting to go over this autopsy. Just quickly run over it. I didn't have a chance to actually look into it like I really, really wanted to. I've read through it a few times, but I like to actually make notes and do something. I haven't had a chance to do that because today has been crazy busy, but it's okay. First things first, because I'm sure a few people will catch the replay of this. Here's the thing: a lot of people were thinking, and it was rumored everywhere, that the dentist that done the DNA on Brian's teeth was his uncle. This autopsy completely debunks that. Completely debunks that. It was supposed to have been one of his uncles from, I think they said New York. I think that's how the rumor was going, but no can do. The one that did his autopsy, the actual, hang on and let me see if I can. Anyway, her name is Nancy. It's a lady, and she is from Sarasota. Let me see if I can pull her up here because I looked in on that because I was like, wait a minute, Nancy. So yeah, this is her. So it's definitely not an uncle from New York. This is the lady that did the DNA. And she is from Sarasota, Florida. So that can be debunked everywhere because it absolutely was not an uncle. The gunshot wound is on the left side, but he's right-handed. Yeah, Melanie, that's one of the things I want to talk about here as well. Now I get that some people can or may be right-handed but shoot left-handed, or some people's right-handed and they may bat left-handed. I get that, but his sister, I don't know if you've went over the autopsy yet, but his sister made a point that he was a very dominant right-handed, pretty much kind of like me, can't even do really anything left-handed. So she made a point to say that, and it is pointed out in the autopsy. So, that to me, even, if he is one of the people that is even bi-handed, my daughter's bi-handed, right? But even one of those, their dominant hand is is their main they do everything with. So yeah, that was one of the things I want to point out in here. There's a couple other things. I mean, of course, I'm not going to read the whole autopsy. We're talking about 47 pages here. But we are going to look through it, and there's a few things that I think need to be talked about in it. And It's probably going to be unpopular as hell. My thoughts, they usually are, but that's okay because they're the way I see it, and that's just what I do. I just say it like I see it, So unpopular or not, it is what it is. So, and I pulled up another thing on this dentist that did the DNA, and the original one that did confirm that it was Brian's remains. And everyone was like, oh, no, that's an uncle. No, it's not. This is her. Hang on, I got a call.
I always followed several philosophies. I believe that we as one are God. I also believe that you do unto others, you have them do unto you. I believe that awareness is the acceptance of the unacceptable. I'm here with my mother, and she's taught me all these things. And I don't know, it's a beautiful planet, a lot of beautiful people. Thank you.
Okay, so that is the dentist that did the DNA. So as you can see, it's definitely not his uncle. So next time you hear somebody say, his uncle's the one that did the DNA, no, 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 it wasn't. It was that lady. Okay, so let's look at this autopsy. Okay, now, like I say, I'm not going to read through every word of it like I usually do on the discoveries and things of that nature because there's 47 pages, and a lot of the work, I'm just not going to do that. If you want this, I will be glad to, and I will put the link to where you can get this yourself in the description box. Well, no, I'll just go ahead and put it here in chat. And then if anybody wants to pull these up, you can. All right. So it says on October the 20th at 9:30 a.m., the remains were discovered at the Carlton Reserve. And it goes on to say that the search had been ongoing for several weeks by multiple agencies for 23-year-old Brian and his date of birth, November the 18th, 1997. And then it says on October the 20th at approximately 8:20 a.m., search groups found a backpack and shoes that were identified as belonging to Brian Laundrie. The personal belongings were surrounded by apparent skeletal remains that were scattered on top of the dirt ground. I was informed by the evidence response team from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, along with the cadaver dogs and electronic detection dogs, were responding to the scene to assist in locating additional human remains. So see here, it says the first items found were found by search teams at 8:20 a.m. I have to go back and forth to look at y'all's chats because I'm on this other page over here. So what's weird is in October I took a picture in a parking lot that looks identical to Gabby's van, and it was weird, but I live in Canada. Yeah, yeah, that is weird. I bet it was surreal, wasn't it? I see a lot of them. Every time I go anywhere, it's like I see a van that looks like hers, and every time now that I see one of those little Ford Transits, I always think of her. Okay, and then at 12:45, the same date, contacted by Detective Keller of the Northport Police Department, who advised that he was the lead investigator for the agency. The apparent human remains were located here and here, which is within the Carlton Reserve. Okay, but still there's no mention of the parents yet. Still no mention of the parents. Okay, there was a main scene, there was a secondary scene. Actually, I believe it said there was 3 scenes or zones. But I'm trying to get down to the part to where I really wanted to talk about. The scene included trees and overgrown vegetation that had total exposure to the outside elements. A winding walking and vehicular trail ran in a north-northeast direction up and through the scene. The skeletal remains and personal effects were in plain sight, and they were scattered upon the dirt ground. So they were just laying there in plain sight. See, that annoys me. Why would they let the parents or the public or any why would they just open that park up before going back into it themselves since the waters had receded and look for this stuff? This tells you it was just laying there in plain sight. It doesn't make sense, especially when they had been searching for weeks and spent millions of dollars searching. But the minute the waters recedes, just open it back up and just let anybody go up in there and have a go at it is the way it looked. Hello, Mary, Melody, Cheshire. I can't say it. Glad y'all are here with us. The main scene contained human remains that included a right and left scapula, a right humerus, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing these wrong, y'all. I ain't no doctor. A left and right femur, 2 tibias, 2 fibulas, 2 clavicles, 2 pelvis, 1 right ulna, 1 right radius, 1 sacrum, multiple ribs, multiple skull fragments, along with the maxilla and the mandible. And now the mandible and I know that is the jaw. And approximately 25 vertebrae, the cervical, the lumbar, and that one. And the doctor confirmed that the remains in this area are human. But see, these were all laying out in plain sight. It's it's ridiculous. Okay, the main scene also contained personal effects that included a pair of green shorts with a green belt, 2 slip-on shoes, a backpack and with unknown contents, a white metal ring, and an unknown type of handgun, a snub-nosed revolver. And then the second scene contained skeletal animal remains, a handwritten half note, and a hat with the logo Moab Coffee Roasters. It says, I was informed that a dry bag was located that contained a journal, along with a wooden box that contained a small notebook and a photographic picture of Brian Laundrie. I was advised that there were additional photographic pictures but the contents were undisclosed to me at the time. Goes on to say that the investigator transported the skeletal remains that included cranial bones, maxilla with the existing teeth, and the mandible with existing teeth that were processed by the evidence response team. On October the 21st at 8 a.m., director met Dr. Nancy Havens, and that is the dentist we just looked at. And she was at the Sarasota Medical Examiner facility, and she was the one that assisted in checking the DNA of what we remember hearing was the skull, partial skull. No, they didn't. There was actually people out there. I remember watching that, and there was like this guy walking by, walking his dog while they were picking up human remains. Like what kind of crime scene is that? It just makes no sense. Hello, Amy. Good to see you here with us. Call me Mercury. Okay, I can do that. There's some things I just cannot pronounce. Like when I was in first grade, I had to take speech. And I don't know why, but I did. The only thing I can figure is like I think mom and dad did a lot of baby talk with me. I think that's what happened because when I got into school, I had to have speech, and there's still today some things that I just can't pronounce. Like I'll try, and my husband he'll laugh because I can't say it. The kids get tickled at me, but I just can't say them, especially that one state. Dave's like, "Oh, that's okay. You can do the voiceover with that one." I can't say it. Ain't happening. Okay, let's see. Back over here on this page. Team leader of the FBI evidence response team, who advised that the main scene was divided into 3 zones, which was designated for sifting purposes in search for additional human remains. Zone 1 contained remains of the upper torso, upper extremities, and head. Zone 2 contained remains of the lower vertebrae and sacrum, and Zone 3 contained remains of the left arm bones. A systematic search was conducted by all agencies involved for the recovery of additional human remains. At 16:20, same date, I was contacted by a director who advised that forensic odontologist Dr. Nancy Havens positively identified the human remains as 23-year-old white male Brian Christopher Laundrie. She is the very first one that confirmed that it was him. I'm sure we all remember that. At 16:25 hours that same day, a projectile was located near Zone 2 of the main scene by the evidence recovery team of the FBI by utilizing a metal detector. All additional human and animal remains, along with personal effects, were collected by the FBI. Okay, please refer to the reports from the Northport Police Department. Okay, I'm trying to get down to the parts that I really want us to talk about. Okay. Detective Keller and lead agent Bush of the FBI arrived at the Sarasota Medical Examiner's facility, Detective Keller reported that the decedent's sister informed that the decedent was right-hand dominant. Detective Keller informed us that the decedent was last known alive September the 13th when he left his residence to go hiking in the Carlton Reserve, but the decedent did not return home. On September the 14th, his vehicle was located in the parking lot of the park. On September the 17th, 2021, he was reported to the Northport Police Department as a missing person. During this time period, it rained for several days and caused portions of the Carlton to be flooded. On October the 7th, the flooding receded to the point where the Carlton Reserve was hikeable again. So on October the 7th, the waters were receded down to where people could actually hike on it. Yet, nothing of him was found until October the 20th. So, I don't know. What do you, I mean, why? If the water had went down by the 7th, why were they still over here at this other place searching like hell when that's where his car was? They should have went back there. As a matter of fact, the attorney, Bertolino, said that they continued to tell the FBI where he would be while they were doing this search. But it's like they were completely ignoring that area and staying over here in this other area. On October the 26th, I contacted decedent's parents, Christopher and Roberta, and explained the District 12 medical examiner's involvement. I directed Mr. and Mrs. Laundrie to contact the Northport Police Department and the FBI for further information in regards to the autopsy report results and additional investigative information. Mr. and Miss Laundrie informed me that their son was very healthy and he had no known medical history. He did not take any medications and had no known primary care physician. When I asked about his social history, Mr. and Miss Laundrie stated that they did not want to provide that information. Now, that's one of the things I found odd. Like, you would think they would want to at least, I mean, in the very least, say, my son was easygoing. He was a good guy. He was chill, laid back, something. But when they're asked about his social history and they're like, no, we don't want to talk about that. We just don't even want to discuss his social history. And they said he had no known primary doctor, so obviously he really didn't have to go to the doctor very much, if any, as an adult. Let me see some of you guys' comments. Oh goodness, those crime scenes, those two, the Watts and John, those were completely contaminated from the get-go. There wasn't even a crime scene for this at all. Like, they didn't even set anything up till his remains were found. And then it was just enough to go out there and pick them up. The next day, people were back out there hiking, walking their dogs. YouTubers, protesters, they were out there picking up bones they thought could be human, but they weren't. But it was very, very odd. Exactly. Exactly, Mercury. I watched it too every day. I never even, to be honest, I never, and I may have to go back and look, and I could be wrong, but I never seen anyone of authority searching that area. I seen his dad walk out there and walk back a few minutes later with a bag, and I saw YouTubers and just random people out there, but I never actually seen, and maybe it just wasn't on camera, but I didn't. You and two other creators I feel are the most honest and best, and that's it. You're awesome. I hope that's a compliment. And I'm just going to listen. Thank you so much, Amy. That really means a lot to me. I appreciate that so much because I do my best just to keep it as real as I can. Because sometimes you can't always feed sugar. Sometimes the truth is hard to accept. But I mean, it just is what it is. You just can't look over one side. You actually got to look at both and kind of come to some kind of agreement in the middle or some kind of thought in the middle. You can't just stay over here on one side. If you did, what would even be the point in having a jury or a trial or a defense and a prosecution? Why not just have one? You got to look at both. That's the way I see it. Maybe those law enforcement that go out on missing type of calls or murder, death, need more training. Yeah, yeah, I do think a lot of them do. I do. Seems like back in the day, the documentaries we see on forensic files and things like that, and man, they will get down and they will really do some testing on things. They'll test everything. They'll go out and interview everybody. It's like now there's so much slack. It's like now I think they just watch YouTube videos for most part, really, and see what the sleuthers are coming up with. I don't know. Thank you for throwing those out there, Dave. Never know who may need to see some of those. I appreciate that. They should have cleared the paths at least. I mean, really, they should have shut it down. They should have shut it down. When those waters receded enough for hikers to go out there, they should have took themselves out there. Because if the Laundrie attorney is telling the truth, he said that they had been telling FBI since September the 15th where he was, last known to be. See, his parents went out there on, I believe it was the 14th. It could have been the 13th. But anyway, and they searched for 5 hours when he didn't come home. And they didn't see him. So obviously, something isn't right here. And then all the waters came up and the parents couldn't go back. And then, I mean, did you guys ever hear that the waters receded on October the 7th? And it was okay for even hikers to go back in there before this autopsy? Because I didn't. All I had ever heard was they were up so high until basically that day that the parents went out there. Yeah, it's something to really wonder about. Other things in this autopsy, and here I'm just chatting, but there was some other things in this autopsy that really caught my attention. One of them, that was one of them I wanted to talk to y'all about, is about those waters receding on October the 7th. and it was hackable again. But yet he wasn't found till the 20th. That's another thing I wanted to kind of point out that I thought was like a what the hell kind of moment. But also with the parents, they did not want to provide the information about their child's social, the way he is socially. Now, think about it this way. And it's hard to think about it this way, but honestly, if something like this, and I let's hope to God it never does, happen to one of our children, would we not want to tell them that our child was a social butterfly, or whatever, chill, easy to get along with, everybody liked them, blah, blah, blah. We would want to talk about that. But when they sit there and look at you and say, well, I don't want to provide that information to you. I mean, that throws off red flags. Something's weird there. Okay, it says, it goes on down to say, at 1326, the same date, I was contacted by Detective Keller, who advised that lead agent Bush from the FBI notified him that the firearm collected at the scene was evaluated. The firearm was a European American Arms 38 Special, and this was on the barrel. That's how they identified the type gun it was. But on the other side of the barrel, 357 Magnum. So based upon the markings and the appearance, the firearm was a Windicator revolver. The cylinder contained 2 live rounds and 1 spent round of ammunition. So is that the gun that was missing? Is it, because is that the gun that Christopher Laundrie said was missing from his home? And I mean, we're all going to sit here and assume it is, right? Because he said there was a gun missing. We're going to assume it, but what if it wasn't? Because some of the things in this leads me to believe, and this is not going to sound like everybody else says it, but some of the things in this autopsy leads me to believe that Brian didn't go out there to take his own life. There, I said it. It does lead me to believe that, some of the things in this. Now, a lot of people believe that he did. He was, ridden with guilt and remorse and for what he had did to Gabby. And as I say, I've read through this a few times, but I've just skimmed through it. I haven't taken notes, and I will. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'm wrong. I'll come back and say, no, y'all have to look. But right now, honestly, this doesn't talk like, in my opinion, that he had intentions of taking his own life when he went out there. Okay, it says on November the 9th, Dr. Walsh Haney returned the remains to the office of the District 12, and he photographed the reconstructive remains with a camera. On November the 11th at 10:30 a.m., at the request of the FBI's personnel, 2 sections of femur bone and a tooth, a molar, were retained for DNA analysis. They were transported to the Pinellas County Forensic Laboratory and delivered by myself. On November the 19th, I received a lab report DNA analysis through email from Tina. Yeah, whatever her name is, of the Pinellas County Forensic Laboratory, the notification was a confirmation on the identity of the human skeletal remains on this case. The remains were identified as 23-year-old white male Brian Christopher Laundrie. The notification was signed by the DNA analysis. On November the 23rd, I contacted Brian's parents, Christopher and Roberta, and discussed their son's death certificate. Okay. The Northport Police Department contacted on-call investigator at 9:30 a.m. on October the 20th, indicating that they believed that the remains of the missing individual, Brian Christopher Laundrie, had been found in an area where searches had been initiated several weeks prior. Reportedly, in the morning hours, Northport Police Department had groups of personnel that discovered bones and personal belongings consistent with Brian. The FBI evidence response team, along with cadaver dogs and other search groups, were continuing to lay out the area where the remains were found. Our assistance was not requested at this point. Later in the day, investigator Busby was contacted to request our response to the scene. The remains were reportedly located at these areas inside the Carlton Reserve. We were told to meet at the park, and upon arrival at the park, police personnel transported us approximately 1 mile from the environmental park entrance into the Carlton Reserves, where the remains had been found. So his remains were found approximately, 1 mile from where his car was. And remember, they said these remains were just laying out on the ground in plain sight. Didn't tell the public when they asked people to search for Brian that he was armed and dangerous. Yes, never mentioned it. Never mentioned it. Yeah, they all knew he had a gun. His father knew. The attorney knew. The FBI knew. But that never even came out. Another thing that never came out until recently was the gun was with him. I mean, they found the gun when they found his remains. I remember making a video on my other channel going, "Where's the gun? Where is the gun?" Well, it was there according to what we have found out, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, Mercury, I don't know what I want to call BS on. I don't know. I don't know if I want to call it on the report itself or, and there is a lot of yeah, yeah, I will on the report itself, but also, as I said earlier, some of the things in this report doesn't fit the popular narrative that he went out there with intention to take his own life. It just doesn't fit. Okay, it says on day one, the late afternoon, it was warm and dry. We are transported from the park entrance to the scene in an ATV, which ultimately headed in north-northeast direction for approximately a mile. The scene is a wooded, low-lying area with multiple patches of trees with underbrush mixed with some areas of open canopy. The ground is moderately dry, with lower areas having both damp and wet spots. Upon arrival at the scene, several tarps and canopies had been set up by the law enforcement agencies. We are briefed at the scene. The leader of the FBI evidence response team, we are told upon arrival that the area where the remains had been located was previously under up to and possibly more than 3 feet of water for an extended period of time. Initially, the search area had been divided into a main scene, a secondary scene, and a secondary scene. Human remains, animal remains, and evidence had been marked with labeled flags for documentation. There's another one of the words I can't say, y'all. To the main scene area, a small, currently dry stream bed with a slightly but noticeably deeper elevation is oriented in a general east and west direction. Walking the main scene area with Detective Keller disclosed human remains including the right and left scapula, right humerus, right femur, 2 tibias, 2 fibulas, 2 clavicles, 2 pelvic bones, the sacrum, and 1 ulna, 1 right radius, and multiple ribs. Also, multiple fragments of cranium and skull, along with a generally intact mandible with attached teeth and the lower aspect of the maxilla with attached teeth are noted. Okay, so it's pretty much they almost found his entire body. From what it says here, there wasn't a lot missing, and they were able to reconstruct it to almost, full form, so that they almost found all of him. Within 10 to 20 feet west of the larger cranial fragments is a green backpack with associated gear, including a tent and flares. Now let's stop right there. Flares. Okay, so if he was going out there to take his own life, why would he bring a tent and flares? Okay, because flares are like SOS, help. You know, so why would he do that? Why would he want to put flares up? Why would he want to even bring a tent? I mean, wouldn't that just be excess baggage if he's just planning to go out there and do off with himself? Write a letter and do off with himself? Why would he want to take the excess baggage with him? Especially flares. I don't know. That really was like, what? Why would he do that? Yeah. And according to this, there were no other injuries. That's right. That's right. The autopsy says that, well, I mean, we'll get to it in just a second, but it was in the left side of his head, the gunshot. And he's right-handed. Okay, any of you out there right-handed, act like you got a gun in your hand. Well, where would you put it? I mean, it's going straight right side. Now, if you take it and you move it around to the left side, that's kind of awkward. Very awkward. If you're holding it in your right hand, you're pulling it over to the left side. I'm just very awkward. Now, As I say, some people are right-handed. They shoot and do things left-handed. But his sister, and she really put it out there that he was dominant right. Good question, Dave. And I wonder that as well. And you know also what else is, if y'all will remember, um, I think it was while that Dog the Bounty Hunter was helping look for him. Do you remember when there was actually another guy that was wanted? I believe it was for murder as well. Hid out in a shack up in there. Like they found him, not even meaning to find him. He was wanted, but they were looking for Brian. They found him. I mean, you know, the tent was still in the backpack and was not even set up or pitched. There again, if he planned to go out there and take his life, why bring the tent, the extra baggage? He had never even set it up, never even took it out of the case. See, things like that lead me to believe that he hadn't even been out of his car that long, maybe, when this happened. Like he wouldn't have even spent one night out there before he was killed. Or he would have at least pitched his tent, right? To had something to sleep in that night. But it wasn't. I do not believe that he killed himself and that he has been there the whole time. Yeah, Tammy, I don't, I don't know. It's sure, in my opinion, there's a lot here that doesn't look to me like he killed himself either. It just doesn't. And it also doesn't appear to me that when he went out there, he had intention to kill himself. Because there again, and I'm going to have to ad lib again, if he went out there with all intention to do what he did or to take his life, why the excess baggage? Why the tent? Why the flares? You know, why all this stuff, right? Why not just have that weapon in your hand or wherever you've got it? Why not just have that? Why load yourself down and go out there with everything to spend a couple of days or a week camping? And then you turn around and you think of this. He's right handed. His sister completely wanted everyone to know he basically don't do anything with his left hand. So I don't think it's going to be one of those situations where he's a left hand shooter, but he's right handed. Because if that was the case, then it would be in here. Obviously, it would be in here. It would say something like, he is right handed, but he does this, this, and this, and this left handed. His sister would have said that, but that's not here. Yeah, you wouldn't, Tammy. I mean, if he was as beside himself as it was said, one, hell, he went camping with his parents, you know, when he got back. You know, I mean, if he was beside himself that much, I don't see why he would have brought all of that with him just to go out there and end his life. It just don't make sense. I mean, you don't pack you up a whole tent, flares, food, all this stuff that was found. People was even found in water bottles, all kinds of stuff. Why wouldn't he just get out of his car with his weapon and that's it? Walk out there and just do it, you know? He didn't never even take the tent out of its bag. He never pitched the tent. So, yeah. I mean, am I the only one that's thought about these things, or am I just overthinking this? And I could be, but they just don't add up to me at all. I want to see the handwriting from that notebook. Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to get people out here that's going to say, it's not our business. It's not our business. You know, that's only for the family and this, that, and the other. Well, you know, I kind of beg to differ because it was brought out in the public. The public got very involved in this case. The public supported, actually, both families had support, you know, just to be honest. I personally was pulling more for obviously Gabby's side. That's where I stood, but there was support on both sides. So yeah, I think the public deserves to know. I do. Yeah, they brought the car back. I think it was on the 15th. And a lot of people found that out. I didn't really find that odd because, you know, I know you're just going to leave your son out there without a way back or whatever, but there was the note on it and the car would have been towed and I kind of get that part why they had to go get it. But the parents are sketch as hell. I mean, they are. It's no wonder Brian was so weird, in my opinion. Lord forgive me, but that's just the way I see it. Yeah, that just walked straight to where he was at. I mean, he wouldn't have even had time to look many other places. He was out there, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And he came back and, oh, look what I found. Wow, look what I found, you know? And supposedly, I guess some people says that the gun was in the dry bag. They could see it in the dry bag as the officer was walking off with it. I mean, I have to be honest, it did look to me like there was something that looked like a gun in it as well. But if it was a gun, then he shouldn't have picked it up and just put it in there with no gloves or nothing else on. And the public should have been aware of it. Archimedes girl. Hey, girl. I know. You better be safe tomorrow, too. This is going to be bad weather. We're already getting internet problems here, and I'm sure you are, too. It's so good to see you. I missed you. You need to give me a call. I miss you. We're going over this crazy autopsy, girl. You need to stay. This stuff's crazy. Approximately 250 feet east, in what was initially designed the secondary scene area, multiple animal bones were identified. A piece of paper and a red hat with the logo of Moab Coffee Roasters are noted in a grassy area. We are informed that an apparent dry bag was located in another area approximately 250 feet southwest of the main area, which contained a journal along with a wooden box that contained a small notebook and photographs, and some of the photos include Brian Laundrie. And this is the first we had heard about this little wooden box or this half note was in this autopsy. The evidence bag with the previously described labels were transported on 10/20. Okay. The scene is consistent with skeletal remains of a single individual that appear consistent with a moderately young male. The cranial fragmentation and presence of a handgun are consistent with a gunshot injury of the head. The full examination and cranial reconstruction will be performed to identify potential specific gunshot evidence. Gunshot wound of the head is extensive associated craniofacial fractures. Cause of death, gunshot wound to the head. Manner of death, suicide, shot self with handgun. Skeletal remains are consistent with a young adult male. The vast majority of the skeleton has been recovered. The level of skeletonization is generally complete, but for minimal areas like white sheen on some of the vertebrae, no soft tissue remains, but for minimal, partially calcified costal cartilage and anterior aspects of some of the lower ribs. Multiple long bones, including bones of the arms and legs, all disclose carnivore predation activity characterized by gnawing and chewing, mostly on the distal ends of the long bones. The cranium is in multiple pieces and fragments, as will be described below. Most of the bones have dark discoloration consistent with the dark soil material where the bones were recovered. So, wild animals, had been gnawing and chewing, just like it says, on his remains. Um, so it looks like his maxilla with the right and left, he had 9 teeth, examined with 9 teeth. Okay, the mandible had 15 teeth. So that's what, and so we were hearing just a piece of skull and like 1 or 2 teeth, and no. As you see here, basically pretty much his whole body was recovered. Scapulas, his hand, ribs. Yeah, I mean, this is everything. The foot. So they sure found a lot for him to have been out there so long and knowing that wild animals were chewing on him. I don't know, y'all. I guess we just completely missed them searching these areas and finding all this because for ever so long we were told all they had was a skull and a tooth. And looking at this, they basically got the whole body. In summary, the vast majority of the skeleton is recovered. The cranium is extensively fragmented, with the mandible generally intact and the lower aspect of the maxilla generally intact, each with some teeth present as described. Missing bones. Now, what was missing was one tooth on the bottom. It looks like 5 teeth up top, 5 craniofacial bone fragments with a moderately large area of the left temporal, and that's where the gunshot wound went, the left temple. Superior wing of the left sphenoid bone is absent. Also absent is the hyoid bone and the thyroid. Completeness and quality. So see, there was very little that was missing. Basically, they found everything. As previously mentioned, skeletonization, total soft tissue decomposition, and moderate to extensive animal predation are noted. Most of the distal long bones have moderately extensive carnivore activity evidenced by multiple gouging and gnawing marks. These areas are consistent with carnivores, wild animals, including canines such as feral dogs and coyotes, along with rodents and raccoons. The extensive fragmentation intersecting skull fractures is consistent with a gunshot wound to the head. The gunshot wound enters the left side of the head, causing an area of extensive fracturing where the majority of the left temporal bone is absent, along with extreme inferior aspects of the left parietal bone and portions of the posterior left spine. I need somebody up here to read these for me. Long story short, he shot himself in the left temple. He's right-handed, dominantly right-handed, does everything right-handed according to his sister. And he shot himself in the left temple. Also noted, again, he brought a tent that he never pitched. He had flares. Fully dressed. He had on slip-on shoes, which we all know if he's a hiker, that's not hiking shoes. He just slipped on some shoes. There was this half a note. Where's the other half? And how in the hell did they even recover that half? If everything had been underwater, it didn't really say that this half a note was in this wooden box. They said there was a notebook in the wooden box, but this half note was just found with his remains. Where is the other half of the note? I mean, and there again, a lot of people think, he just went out there to kill himself. I don't believe that. I do not think that. I'm not sitting here saying this is not him that's been recovered and identified. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is I don't think his intention was to go out there and kill himself at all. And I would like to know if the gun that they have listed here in this autopsy is the gun that his dad originally reported gone. If it's not, then in my opinion, that opens up a whole other can of worms. I don't think Brian wanted to kill himself, and I don't think he did. I just don't think he did. This doesn't sound like a guy that was beside himself and decided to go out in the woods and take his own life by gunshot. Everything he had with him, where the gunshot was, well, there was a note. Okay, I don't care. I watch enough true crime to think, hey, you know, somebody gonna hold a gun to my head and tell me what to write, I'm writing it. I don't know. This is gonna be the end of this case. We know this. There's nothing else gonna come out here. It's not even under investigation anymore. I mean, it's done. And the ruling is suicide. But I just don't know if I can buy that. I just don't know if I can buy that. A tent was up an awful long time to just recover what they said they originally found. Yeah, the tent, he never pitched the tent. Like he never even took it out of the bag. It was still in the bag. It's like they found a whole lot of stuff, lots of stuff out here. But it's awful weird that not one damn thing was found before his dad walked out there and found that dry bag. Nothing. I mean, the park was open. People was in there walking their dogs and hiking, and dad goes in there, and 15 minutes he comes out with a dry bag, and then lo and behold, within a day or so, that they found his whole damn body, tents, clothes, shoes, guns. Look at the bones here. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, somebody, I feel like somebody was involved, y'all. I feel like somebody knew. Somebody knew. And I'm not saying that wasn't Brian out there and this is not his remains, because I believe it is. I believe all these bones here you're seeing, all this, I do. I believe it is Brian, and I do believe Brian's dead. But I don't believe he committed suicide. I don't. Am I the only one that feels that way? Does anybody else out there feel that way after looking at this? I just, I think somebody else killed Brian. I really do. Because one, in my opinion, Brian was a narcissist, and that, they really loved themselves a lot. Um, if he would have been actually put in prison, yeah, he may have then, like a lot of narcissists do. I don't, not even go to trial, just go ahead and take your own life because nobody's going to control my life. But at this point, it sounds like he was running. Now, I'll give it that. It sounds like he was trying to hide and run from what he had did, because he had taken all that stuff with him to make it out there in those woods, right? Even flares. The flares really got me, y'all. I know I've said that one a lot, but that one really just like, what? Like somebody gonna kill themselves, they ain't taking flares out in the woods with them. I mean, it just, you're not going to. I don't even know how else to say it. I think his dad helped him do the deed. That's anything is possible. It really is. I think Dad damn well knew where he was. And not only because he walked out in those woods and within 15 minutes found his son, not just that, because Bertolino sat there and told them that they had been telling them since the 15th exactly where he was, exactly where he was at. And so Dad just decides to go out there and boom, there he is. Here's the dry bag. Not long after, well, here's everything. Like here's literally everything. And you got the cops over there picking up bones while people's walking by walking their dogs. And what is up with that? Found all of his clothes. Well, I didn't see any mention of a shirt, but found his shorts, his belt, his shoes, both shoes, even the hat he had on his head, even the ring he had on his finger. You know, damn near every bone, damn near every one of them. Tent. You all know a tent in that bag you toting. That's not a little bitty item. That's a pretty large item. Not to mention, the very beginning of the autopsy, it said all this shit was out there in plain sight, just laying on the ground. I mean, just laying there in plain sight. If this autopsy doesn't raise flags for hell, it's raising flags for us, y'all. Come on. If it didn't raise flags for authorities, then we in a hell of a lot of trouble out here in the judicial system, people. Because, I mean, let's get real. And you see it, especially when it first happened. People, oh, he was this or that, and he went out there and he killed himself. Good for him. Y'all, I don't think he killed himself. I don't. I don't think he had a damn intention one to kill himself. Because he was going out there to take damn good care of himself, if you ask me. Because he had all the proper equipment that you would need for the elements, the weather. He would have had food, but the animals, they didn't took off with that. But, you know, even his safety, the flares, so I want to see the letter. I want to see this mysterious letter where he took credit for it. And I'm not even saying that the letter doesn't exist because I believe it quite possibly does. I believe it possibly does exist. But that still doesn't mean enough of us watch enough true crime to know that if somebody's sitting there holding a gun to your head, you're going to write what the hell they're telling you to do. I just don't think Brian took his own life. I just don't. I did. I literally did before this came out. I honestly did. I thought, yeah, he just, he was scared he was going to get busted. And so he just went out there, took his own life. But when I seen all this, I was like, no way in hell did he go out there planning to take his own life. No way. And just to be honest, until I see something that makes me think otherwise, that's where my thoughts is going to set on this. The thing of it is who did it? If it wasn't him, who did it? Because somebody shot him. Okay, Tammy, thank you for coming in, hon. Glad to see you tonight. Hey, my little niece, Ash and Emmy. So, Kim, who do you suspect? Well, I I do have somebody I suspect, I'll say that. But I'm just gonna refrain right now. Um, I'm just gonna refrain from answering that at the moment. And to be quite honest, I'm sure I'm not the only one that has the same thought in my mind, and we'll talk about that at a later date. But I don't think Brian shot himself, y'all. I don't. Yeah, he probably wouldn't have made it very long, Donna. Not in the conditions that reserve. Probably not. I agree. He would have. I think Brian thought that he could run from the cops because he was so proud of that whole Appalachian thing he did. But me researching that Appalachian thing, I've learned that the trails, it really wouldn't be that hard because there's people all up and down those trails. So it's not like you're like secluded and just so far away from anything or anyone there. So maybe in Brian's head, he was just narcissist enough to believe that he could make it out there and he could survive in the wilderness because he is such a wilderness guy. Because he did bring things with him to be able to survive out there. Now, not sure how much was out there, but we do know the tent, the flares, he had clothes, just several things, wooden box, whatever that was, dry bags. His dry bag had things in it. So he had a backpack. And I know for a fact those hikers can get a lot of stuff in backpacks. Plus, I guarantee you that it was already a plan that his parents were going to be dropping things off here and there, and he was going to scavenge his way over to get them. Or they could have even went out there and pre-hidden things that he would need, you know, that emergency kind of food stuff. I mean, all that kind of stuff. That could have all been set up. I mean, you're talking about from what, September the, what was it, the 3rd? When is the 3rd that he got back there? All the way to they had like 10, 11 days to be able to just put things randomly here and there. And even if his parents didn't help him, even if he just did it, I think he planned to go out there and stay hid out from the law. It's what I think. Yeah, that's possible, Melody. I've actually heard several people think that maybe his dad just got disgusted and who knows? Who knows? Um, anything's possible, but I will hold to this thought. Brian didn't do that. He did not. He did not shoot himself, and he did not go out there with intention to kill himself. And until this report dropped on Valentine's Day, I thought he did. I thought he literally went out there with maybe that dry bag and a notebook, and that was it. And the gun in the notebook. I literally thought he went out there because he couldn't live with himself for what he did. But when I find out that he brought all this stuff with him where he was shot, his sister saying pretty much no, he's right, everything right-handed. All of that puts in my head he didn't do this. Sometimes you got to wonder, sometimes you got to question law enforcement a little bit more too. The FBI knew where he was since September the 14th or 15th. That was confirmed by Steve Bertolino. Now, y'all follow me here a minute. They knew that. So why did they continue to keep the media and the public and everybody else's attention over here at this other place searching for him when they knew where he was since the 15th? Why? And why hadn't the FBI already contacted Northport and let them know that Brian had been missing since the 13th or 14th, that he did not come home? Because the FBI knew it. Bartolino has already confirmed that too. However, Northport comes out on the 15th in a press conference saying, oh, yes, we know exactly where he is. Hell no, they didn't. And even Bartolino said the minute he seen them say that or heard them say that in that press conference, he said he was floored. He said, how can they say that? We've already told the FBI we don't know where the hell he's at. Bartolino and the Laundries reported Brian missing to the FBI on, well, they knew the 13th that he didn't come home, but on the 14th when Bartolino got with the FBI, when he should have got with Northport, but he didn't. He got with the FBI. I guess he was doing a chain of command kind of thing. Also, the FBI kept everybody holed up over here at this other place where Brian wasn't. This other place over here just stayed closed down where he was, where the parents said he was, where Bartolino said he was, where they had told the FBI he was. But they wouldn't go over there because it was underwater. Well, from what I seen them searching this other place over here, hell, it was underwater too. So why didn't they just take their chances over here where they knew he was? The FBI was aware he wasn't there. It's just all I'm saying. The FBI knew he wasn't there on the 14th. And he didn't come home. And that's as far as I'm saying with that. But so did anybody come in here tonight? I bet you all came in here like, yeah, this has been a sketchy autopsy. But did any of you come in here and thinking that he did kill himself, you know? Yeah, he did. He's an idiot. He's a piece of POS, you know. But after actually looking at what they found, and does anybody feel like me that Brian didn't kill himself? And he didn't have no intention on killing himself. Or am I the only one that feels like that? Yeah, law enforcement mistake Brian's mom for Brian. Yeah. Like who could do that? They don't even look alike. Really, they really don't. So why would his parents go get the Mustang before they found him? Yeah, we talked about that a little bit before you got in, Mary. I believe that was legit. There was a note they put on the car, and if they didn't go get it, that it was going to be impounded. But there was a big to-do when they went and got it. I mean, hell, I got it in one of my videos on the other channel. There was like camera crews, people everywhere when they went and picked that car up. It was already a circus then. Okay, everyone. Well, that's pretty much what I was just wanting to go over tonight. We've been here about an hour and a half. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Did ever was you able to get the link? Okay, if you want to download this autopsy yourself, I put it back in the chat again. I think it's going through because I learned a long time ago when these things come out, you get them right then and you download them if you can. Because if you don't, it's quite possible that it's very, very possible that next time we look at this, half of it's going to be redacted. And that's the truth. That's just what they do. We learn that with the Watts case. Thank you, Diane. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. That's awesome. 20 people. I wasn't expecting that, was I, Dave G? I was like, yeah, I doubt. They'll catch the replay, but probably not too many going to come in because I'm sure there's those good old drama, juicy drama lives out there going on, and mine's going to be a little more boring than the he said, she said. Um, yeah, mine will be a little more boring than that, but yeah, I don't get into that. Thank you, Donna. I really appreciate that one. That means a lot. Really does. I'm really trying to get our channel up here, y'all. And it's not my it's our channel. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I really do. I do. I may not be the most popular channel out there, but that's okay. That's okay. Because I ain't here for popularity. I'm here for my loyal supporters. And that's why I do this. I also do it because I am very, very much into true crime, always have been. And if we can just sit down, do like we did tonight, talk about it together, because I ain't got nobody to talk about it with here, y'all. Nobody. It's like, I don't want to talk about that. Oh my God. I don't want to talk about that. Pretty much everybody that loves true crime, it's the same way for them. It's like nobody wants to talk to them about it. That's why we find each other out here and we form our own little community and we can just sit and talk about it. Thank you, Mary. And I didn't go over the whole thing, but as y'all seen, I ain't no doctor. And there's a lot of these things that I know I said wrong. And I'm sorry, but if you want to go download this autopsy and if you have nothing else to do, just sit and look over it and think about it for a few minutes. Just really think on what it's saying. Because those things that I pointed out, and I know when I sat down with this, and I'm going to, and take notes and do a little more with it, there's more is going to come out at me. I know it will. But those things were so obvious to me. I mean, they were like, boom, they were right in the face obvious. I guess the very first thing, which I know most people's very first thing was, wait a minute, he's right-handed, shot in the left temple, some ain't jiving there. That's not really the first thing that popped out at me, because I do know that you can be right-handed and, do, or vice versa. Some people right-handed bat left-handed. I know that. So that didn't hit me first. The very first thing that slapped me right in the side of the head was he had flares. Like, I just can't get over that. He brought flares with him. You don't bring flares with you if you don't ever plan to come out of them woods. I mean, why do you need help? If you're going out there to take your own life, you don't need no flares. And another thing is that tent. He never even took it out of the bag. He never even used it. So why take it up in there and have that excess baggage? Because it's heavy. Brian's, I mean, yeah, he might be tall, but he's a puny looking little dude, right? And to walk a mile with a tent, heavy like that, why bring that excess baggage? Why? Why bring a little wooden box? I mean, that's what I'm saying. To me, he did not go out there with intention to take his life. The gun they found sounds like two guns put together, a 357 and a, what was it, 38 revolver. It's this gun on this side and it's this gun on the other side. It's also snub-nosed. Snub-nosed, I don't know much of nothing about guns. That'd be my husband, but I know that anything snub-nosed, it's like it'll blow a hole in something, right? I mean, like a hole. So it's a damn wonder it didn't take off the whole side of his head, not just the temple area being all messed up. I mean, really. So, well, thank you, Donna. That'd be awesome. I really appreciate that. Trying to get this channel up there some too. I just don't have much time to work on it. Um, but I think breaking crime news is pretty damn interesting as well as, cold and closed cases like we do on the other channel. I like I mean, that's not a good word. I am interested in all true crime. That's, I should have been a detective. I really should have. I think that would have been my calling. Because it's really interesting. It is. Let me, so, yeah, Mary, they really are. There's a lot. I can't wait to have time to sit down and really dig into this autopsy, but I've already seen enough of it to know that, um, my opinion, it's not suicide. I mean, I wished I did not think that. And maybe after I read it real hardcore, I won't feel that way. But as of right now, I think somebody done that to him. And whatever this note is, that he took, blame for killing Gabby. Well, hell, we all knew he killed Gabby. I believe, before it was even said, I believe we all knew that. But there's got to be a why. I mean, doesn't look like he would just sit down and just write, yes, I'm the one that, took her life, period, signed Brian. No, no, I believe he would have said what happened, at least to a point, at least to a little bit, some idea of why. Because if he's going to take the time to sit down and take the responsibility, then he's also going to take time to try to not make himself look like such a POS and say, I lost my temper, blah, 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 whatever. Throw a little bit out there of defending himself is why he did it. Even if for the sake of his own parents, something. I I want to see the note. I want to know how in the hell a half a note was even found since that had been flooded for so long. It did not say that it was in that wooden box. I don't know. It didn't say it was in anything. It just said it was found. Now the wooden box was in his backpack. No, the dry bag. Was it the dry bag? Yeah. It was either the dry bag or the backpack. But I know the backpack also said that they didn't know the contents, so it must have been the dry bag. Yeah, Dave, let's do. Let's do. I kind of do that already around here. I mean, not necessarily YouTube, but I mean, here at the home front, I kind of do a little bit of that here with people and different things. But, well, I don't know. We've helped some people here on YouTube as well, right? Oh, to let you all know, I don't know if I haven't had the chance. Our member, one of our members, Lulu, her sister was missing. She came to me, was telling me about it. She had been missing since early last September, and she just put on the comment last week of the video that I made for her sister. Um, she was found. She was found, and she's alive. Now, that's really about all the details I know right now. I know she was alive. I know the family went and picked her up. She did say, however, that um, she had been through a lot of trauma, is mentally and physically, from my understanding. But she's alive and she's home. So she was found. So maybe us spreading her video and, just getting it out there the best we could. Something happened. Was it what we were doing? I don't know. I haven't been able to talk to her much lately. But either way, thank God she was found and she is alive and she's home with her family. I know when Lulu gets a chance, she's gonna get with me and let me know a little bit more about it. But I wanted to let you guys know that and leave this on a good note and good news, because I was so glad to hear that for her. Also got another member of Team Unjustified here. She had written me, said her uncle, and I'm fixing to look into that too as well, said her uncle was murdered by his wife, and she ran, and is still on the run. And the cases went cold. And she said his story has been on Dateline. It's been on 2020. I believe she said the ID channel and several others, but now it's went cold. And so I'm going to try looking into that for her, and maybe we can get, some new eyes back on that case. Because this woman that murdered him is out there. So maybe we can help her as well, y'all. We work good together. I think we do. All right. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I truly, truly appreciate it. And until next time, this is Unjustified.